Cute Toys for Cute Humans. Written by BainshieWrites. Memory transcription subject: Brava, Obor toy maker, business owner and specialist primate caretaker. Date: standardized human time, May 1st, 2160. The excitement was threatening to overwhelm me as I stared across the room at the human in front of me, taking every atom of self-control and professionalism to not break down while looking at the chubby little primate. Well, little was the wrong word, since the munchkin towered over me by at least a whole foot. Come on, keep it together, Brava. He is a person. Be professional. I wondered if humans being bigger makes them more huggable. Their little furless cheeks look so soft and squishable. Come on, dude. Focus. I had always loved obors. While only a monster could look at the adorable expressive eyes of a primate and not want to protect them from the universe and all its troubles, even as a child, obors were my passion. I wanted to make every single little rambunctious primate as happy as a Smeagly in mud. While such a task was impossible, I had built myself a business as a seller of high quality handmade obor toys and supplies. None of that mass produced rubbish from Primeco. If you wanted a loving touch and expertly crafted items, you came to Oborius. So, this is a selection of items we've created for humans, and we'd like your opinion on them. I spoke to the human, otherwise known by the adorable name of Danny. Sat on the table in front of the primate was a variety of items of different makes and colours. Food items, treats, toys, and general engagement stimulations. All were specially made for humans using my years of experience making obor supplies. So, these are the things you'd like to sell to humans? Danny's voice was rough, deeper than I'd expect for someone in his position. Everything about the human made me want to break into tears, scoop him up inside my arms, and tell him that everything was going to be okay. I could see well-defined muscles far beyond what any obor deserved to have. Rough calluses on the pads of his hands, and his weathered skin told of someone who had worked hard his entire life. It broke my heart. I knew what the humans had been through over the last 20 years, living underground, away from the sun, afraid to show their faces, toiling for unneeded materials that the Krev had demanded of them. I couldn't help but hate our government for the pain they had inflicted upon these little darlings. Sure, assuming they were from the Federation was reasonable, but not doing any double checking over 20 years was just incompetence at a massive level. Giant space obors had visited our sphere of intelligence, and not only had we tried to drive them away, but we caused untold harm and hardship to them over the last 2 decades. I knew plenty of other people felt as I did, that our government took a lot of the blame for this terrible travesty. A blame reflected in the plummeting popularity numbers for our current leader. Our governments had their snouts surgically attached to their bellies, hiding from the Federation rather than dealing with the issue. A mistake that had finally chipped their scales. Yes, that is correct. They are a variety of food and entertainment items that we believe humans would like. Please explore them and provide feedback on your thoughts. A variety was understating it. My office was a simple furnished room, and the table that stood in the centre of it was filled with items I had created. In retrospect, I might have overdone it, but I was just so excited to provide some fun engagement to these new primates. I had built prototypes and gathered treats for anything I could think of that humans might like. most of them using designs modified from Obor toys, taking into account their increased size and strength, of course. I watched Danny gravitate towards the various food items first, my tail thumping against the floor with joy at seeing the similar food-motivated actions I'd watched of so many Obor, although the human made less of a mess as he sampled the various fruits and nuts that were popular amongst primates. Most garnered various positive reactions as they sampled the various treats on offer. Now these ones are really good. Crunchy, slightly salty, got a good kick to them. What are they? I couldn't help but grasp my claws together in joy as I watched Danny enjoy the popular Obor snack. Ah yes, those are roasted and slightly salted dintel. Very popular, high in protein, contains important minerals to ensure healthy hair growth. I watched his cute little brow furrow in confusion as he stared at the treats he was eating. What is a dintel? A type of dried fruit? No, they're a common tree-living insect. The reaction was instantaneous as Danny started to choke and splutter, causing a mess as half-chewed dintel was sprayed across the room. A look of dismay and disgust covering Danny's face. Are you okay? What happened? Concern leaked into my voice as the human continued to cough, drinking deeply from a provided cup of water until the silly human gathered their wits together and responded. Really? Bugs? Why would you feed me those? That's gross! It was now my turn to be confused. Primates love insects, and the human was happily eating them just a moment ago. I don't understand. Insects are a common primate food item, and you were enjoying them? It's gross, and I dunno. It just is, Danny responded in an adorably stubborn way, unable to provide a logical reason for his outburst. Let's just skip the food for now. I can see some kid toys here. The sudden rejection of the roasted dintel was left behind as Danny started to explore the large variety of interaction aids with his stubby little fingers. A happy and well cared for Obor needed regular changes to their environment and the ability to interact and change said environment. I watched as the human went through various noisemakers, rattles, chimes, and other visual and audio engagement items. With a mix of sadness and disappointment, I watched Danny quickly lose interest in each of the toys, putting each one back on the table after a few moments. I guess these will be popular with kids. They're well made. Yes, children. That is what they were intended for. For kids, of course. They were not intended as children's toys, and I felt a mix of sadness and joy at Danny's statement. The idea of adorable little human children using my items made me want to squeal with joy. On the other claw, the fact that I'd missed the mark to make this little guy happy was a disappointment. I could tell by the sad, weary look in the primate's eyes that he needed some enjoyment in his life. In my dismay, I'd failed to notice one of the items take Danny's attention for longer than a few moments. It was one of my more expensive items, an interaction board with multiple forms in one. Buttons to press with satisfying clicking sounds, things to spin on perfectly machined ball bearings, and little silicone nubs to press that gave tiny little pops. I watched as the primate's dexterous little fingers moved with speed and accuracy, fiddling with the item for the sake of fiddling with the item. I could see the telltale signs of relaxation appearing on the human's body. Shoulders slumping, jaw becoming unclenched as he continued to maintain his mental interaction with his environment. Enjoying that one? I asked eagerly. causing Danny to seemingly remember where he was and place the toy down with the others.
Yeah, that one's quite good. It's basically a super fidget spinner. Nice thing to just move around in your hands a bit.
I couldn't help but grasp my claws together once more in joy at seeing the little furless primate be so happy with what I'd created. Well, if that's what humans would find enjoyable, you might want to try the puzzle box. I know that humans are known for their curiosity and their love of puzzles. I pointed to the device I'd only finished working on late last night, an amalgamation of wood and metal fitting together in a deceptively simple looking puzzle. Open the door. It was recommended that oboes should be given stimulating tasks to gain various tools to stimulate their natural foraging abilities, and puzzle boxes containing treats were a popular way to do this. Of course, humans were far more intelligent than an oboe, so I had thought outside of the box for the steps required to open the device to access the treat inside. Multiple steps: tool use, pulling, twisting, spinning, magnets, and hidden latches. Such a thing would just frustrate most normal people, but for a primate like Danny, it was a delectable challenge that must be conquered. I watched as the human began to tackle my device, staring intently at the toy as they moved, spun, and shook it about. There was a lot less banging and throwing it at the floor than an oboe would with such a toy, but the similarities in finger dexterity were obvious. Silence descended upon us as minutes started to tick up. Only the sound of Danny working on the puzzle box and the occasional bang as he hit it against the table. I could see the precious primate was fully engaged in the activity, his little red tongue sticking out of the corner of his mouth as Danny fully focused on the task he had set his mind to. That is so adorable. I think I might just die from cuteness overload, with his little head fur, that intense look in his eyes, and that tongue sticking out of his mouth. Most people would have given up by now, or at the very least asked for some help. Not a primate, stubborn and self-independent to a fault. With a final click, the puzzle box opened up, the sugar-coated nut hitting the table with a clatter as the container finally gave up its contents. Confusion filled Danny's face as he suspiciously picked the treat up.
Why is there candy inside?
As a reward for engagement, I said with a glee, just happy that something I made had been a hit. This was the wrong thing to say, however, as Danny's expression turned from confusion to suspicion. The gears in his cute little head began to turn, his eyes filling with anger as the human seemed to work something out.
These are all pet toys, aren't they?
He shouted in an adorably angry tone as Danny stared at me in an accusatory manner.
That's why they're all so simple, because they're for your pets.
Well, they were all made specially for humans, I responded back, slightly offended at the notion that I'd give a human mere oboe toys. I used my years of experience with primate engagement to craft new experiences perfect for a curious, mischievous human.
We are not pets. I swear we can't seem to get this through your pangolin looking motherfucking brains.
I knew Danny was angry, maybe even for good reason, but I was struggling to take him seriously. Seeing the way his little hands clenched and his skin turned slightly red made the human look like a giant oboe having an adorable tantrum over not being given a treat. But you were just enjoying them, especially the puzzle box. Just look how mentally stimulated you were. That was also the wrong thing to say, as Danny turned from just angry to rage-filled, glaring at me as he chucked the puzzle box out my snout with painful accuracy.
Fuck you!
He turned to walk away, stomping off with the unbalanced wobble that all humans had, before spinning back around and grabbing several items off the table.
I'm taking the fruit snacks with me, and the fidget spinner thing.
I watched as the human stormed off in an adorably cute huff, deciding not to follow him as I rubbed the forming bruise at the tip of my snout. I knew from experience that when an oboe was angry or territorial, it was better to leave them alone and give them some space. Danny did have a point in being angry. Logically, I knew humans were thinking sapient beings, but all logic and rational thinking left my mind whenever I saw their happy little chubby faces. In retrospect, a lot of my toys were a little too simple for a sapient person. Overall, I guess it didn't go too badly. Just need to focus on the more complicated items and not make it too obvious where that inspiration came from. Also, maybe less talking about mental stimulation. They did like my interaction board a lot, as well.